My name is Jonathan McDaniel, and I am a walking target. Let me explain. While goofing off with my friends, I managed to be the only one that broke my wrist in 2 places. Sometimes, out of the blue, I get filled with anxiety and have panic attacks. No reason, they just happen. And my mom's personal favorite, I ripped my Achilles tendon from walking. Walking. Not running, not playing some crazy game, from walking. And now, I know that stuff just happens, and that's just a part of life. However, all of these things happen just weeks or days before I delivered a sermon or did something at a similar fine arts festival like this. These are just a few examples, and I'm sure I'm not the only person in here who has had coincidental injuries while doing God's work. Sometimes Christians think that we're saved, but when Christians get saved, they think that the devil leaves you alone. But the truth is, it's the exact opposite. When you become a Christian, you immediately get the devil's attention. And if you're bold enough to do God's work, you may as well put a big target on your back. Paul is a perfect example of this. Most of us know the story of Paul. He eventually became one of the boldest preachers of all time. Paul faced more adversary and pain during his time of ministry than most of us will ever face in a lifetime. Paul was a walking target because of his boldness and his great works. Okay, Jonathan, so we've made ourselves a target. We've gotten the devil's attention. Now what? Well, we have a choice to make. The first choice, you can hide in a corner and hope that the devil doesn't find you. 1 Peter 5:8 tells us, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." Yeah, and that's scary. But fear is a powerful weapon of the enemy. And we have to remain more alert because the devil has been feasting like a king. According to recent studies, only 1 out of 2 Christians say that there's an objective truth. We have let evil slip into our nation and even our religion because of fear. That brings us to our second choice. We could choose not to be afraid of the target on our back.
All right.
1 Corinthians 16:13, Paul tells us to be on our guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. Ephesians 6:11, put on the full armor of God so that you can take a stand against the devil's schemes. Hebrews chapter 12, we are told to run our race and keep our eyes fixed on Jesus and remember his great suffering. We are told not to grow weary and lose heart. Paul didn't care that he had a target on his back. He kept running that race that God prepared for him. We are alert and ready for these attacks, and we won't be discouraged when the time comes. Jonathan, what makes you so sure that being prepared will help? I left out some details in the stories that I said earlier. Let me explain. That time that I had a panic attack and I had no idea why, it was just moments before I delivered a sermon that changed more people's lives than I could ever have imagined. That torn Achilles that needed surgery, no thanks, fully healed 3 days later in a prayer sermon. And that broken arm just 2 weeks before a very physical performance that would teach people about God. That night, the x-ray showed my wrist broken in 2 places. But I insisted on having another x-ray the next morning because I knew in my heart that God would heal it the next day. And it was not easy there, standing there saying that while the nurses laughed at me.
Yes, they did.
But I am here to tell you, no matter how many times they did that x-ray or who did it, they could not find a single broken bone in his arm. We do not need to be afraid of the targets on our back because the devil is a liar and his attacks have no power over us. Paul was beaten to the point that they brought him out of the city and threw him out. I know that sometimes we feel beaten down, broken, and half dead. But Paul did not stay down. He got up and kept running his race. Ladies and gentlemen, when you feel beaten down, do not hide in that corner. You jump up to your feet and say, "Thank you, Jesus." Thank you for the honor of serving you.
Yes, sir.
You put on that armor of God and you shut the devil down.
Yes, sir.
He will not keep us from running our race. No, sir. You wear that target
Yes,
on your back,
sir. Woo!
proudly, like a badge of honor, and you go out with a boldness like you've never had before. Thank you.
Yes!